Measures, and I'm here hosting VM's monthly webinar series. Today's webinar is titled The Organizational Keys to Your PPC Campaign Success, and will be presented by our very own Senior Search Engine Marketing Analyst, Zach Etten. Zach is a certified Google AdWords professional with over 5 years of experience managing successful PPC campaigns. His background in statistical analysis and interest in big data led him to become an expert in big optimization strategies and tactics. Zach has successfully managed large and small campaigns for clients spanning many industries and business models. Before we get started and I hand over the presentation to Zach, I just have a few things to note. Today's webinar will be available tomorrow, if not sooner, and we will be sending you a recording of the video as well as the slides, so you can take notes and come back to it when you want. We'll go ahead and send that via email, so keep an eye out. We'll also be happy to answer your questions after Zach's presentation. So if you take a peek at your webinar interface, there's a little question applet, and you can type to me there and ask your questions, and we'll get to that at the end. Or you could always use Twitter, where you can tweet us with the hashtag VMWebinar. Any questions we don't get to, we'll be sure to try and answer via email. If you're having any technical difficulties, the best thing I've found is just to attempt to reconnect after you sign off. So with my notes complete, I will hand it off to our presenter, Zach Etten.
Thanks, Quinn, and thanks everyone who's joining us today. We know everyone has busy days. We appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon. We're going to look to keep things to about 25 minutes today and then open up the floor to some question and answer. Get started. So as Quinn said, we're going to be talking about the benefits of a properly organized PPC campaign today. The way that we like to think of things is from a top-to-bottom approach. We like to identify issues at the top level and dig all the way down to the bottom to find actionable quality data that can help us make good decisions. A well-organized account is going to help us in a whole lot of ways. But we can really group all of those ways into two levels. Performance, right from the get-go, in improved performance due to things like click-through rate and conversion rates. The second is analysis. A well-organized account is going to allow you to make better analysis. Driving, again, if I could put it on the list twice, I would, performance. So we're really going to see performance benefits from two different angles here. So from a top line, what are the benefits of a well-organized campaign? One, they're going to lead to higher click-through rates. As everyone knows, and everyone likes talking about quality score, higher click-through rates are the main driver of a high-quality score. High-quality scores, as you know, lead to lower cost per clicks. Lower cost per clicks are going to lead to lower cost per conversion and ultimately lead to increased profit for you, no matter what your model is, whether you're driving leads, sales, or anything in between. The second way that we're going to benefit from a well-organized campaign is improved conversion rates. Getting campaigns and ad groups and keywords organized properly and having ad copy targeted to the correct users and the correct search queries are going to drive better conversion rates because you can land them on more specific landing pages and, again, ultimately lead to increased profit for you. On the analysis side of things, we're going to see big benefits due to improved account navigation. What I mean by that is what we look for when we analyze our accounts is actionable data. We can't make good decisions from 30,000 feet up. What I have here is a map of IKEA furniture store that is well organized to get its customers through the store. We want to make it easy for ourselves to make analysis like IKEA moves people through the store. We don't want it to be a maze trying to find actionable data. Well-organized campaigns are going to help us spot themes, and ultimately, being able to spot themes is going to lead to better trend analysis because that trend analysis is actionable. Trend analysis at the campaign level can help us find areas where there might be actionable data, but it typically isn't actionable all by itself. First, let's talk a little bit about campaign structure. Typically, we like to structure campaigns because of campaign settings. These are settings that can only be set at the campaign level. So if you'd like to break them out, there is a necessity to have campaigns divided based on these things. Of these, we have location, language, budgeting, and network. And then on the analysis side of things, a driver of CAM structure is performance targets. And we're going to dig into each one of these, why it's important, and get down to what is actionable about each of them. Start off with location. If you are targeting users who are in different locations, that is a very good reason to break out into different campaigns. Different countries should always be broken out into different campaigns because that user base is likely to be looking for different things. They're likely to convert at different rates. And they're likely, there's a need to break those out. Not just different countries, though. We also want to break out campaigns if we're offering the same thing in different locations but want to target them differently. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a division in Chicago and a division in LA, and you have specific offerings for each of those locations. You may want to break those out so that you can provide separate budgets and just have ad copy that's more reflective of each location. Again, the benefit here is improved ad copy because users in different locations perform differently. You can make better keyword bidding decisions, and ultimately, those two things are going to lead to an improved conversion rate. Language. This may sound basic, but I can't tell you how many campaigns come through our doors making the mistake of targeting languages that they can't cater to and don't cater to with their ad copy. If you want to target users who speak multiple languages, it's always best to break them out. AdWords does not translate your ads, and they do not translate search queries. We don't want English ads mapping to searches that are done in German for obvious reasons. Again, the benefit here is improved ad copy, improved keyword bidding because those users are going to perform differently, and improved conversion rate. Budgeting. Budgeting is done at the campaign level. So if there are different sections of your account that require different budgets, you will need to do this at the campaign level. Common examples are if you have multiple divisions and each division has its own budget. For e-commerce clients, if you have products or brands that you'd like to provide specific budgets to, you'll want to do this at the campaign level. I offer a warning here. Be careful not to set campaign budgets too low. Traffic on a daily basis is not linear and it's not consistent. And I'm going to show you what I mean here with a real-life example. Here's a real campaign, real data from one of our accounts. Ad spend over the last 30 days, $29.89, which if you do the math is more or less $100 per day. So if you were to take that and say, okay, I want to budget $100 a day, you'd think that that would be the right decision. But what we see here is the AdWords graph of how that data, how those visitors who wound up costing $29.89 came to be. That green line through the middle is your $100 a day. As you can see, there's quite a few days that are well above $100, up to about $130, and there's quite a few days that are quite a bit below $100, down to about $70. So what would happen if we were to set that campaign budget for $100 a day? We would have seen ad spend of $27.71, $218 less than if we had an open budget there, or a higher budget. We would have seen 343 fewer clicks, and ultimately, we would have realized 7.5% fewer sales, which amounts to 31 sales, not due to poor optimization techniques, but because we set our campaign budgets too low. Leaving money on the table due to poor budgeting is a big problem, and unfortunately, we see it a lot. Moving on, network. If you want to target the search and display network, that's great. We think you should too. But those two should never be targeted in the same campaign. Their optimization best practices are drastically different. The way that you target users is different. Search, you're targeting keywords that individuals are actually searching for. Display, you're targeting anything from website content using keyword contextual targeting, or maybe demographics, or possibly remarketing. There's just so much different, and combining the two really leads to bad data and data that you can't make good decisions on. But what you see is Google's explanation here, why to choose search and display. If you'd like to reach the broadest set of potential customers and would like all access to the options available, this is a good campaign type for you. I think what they left out there is if you'd like to run really inefficient campaigns, this is probably the best choice. Moving on to ad group structure. So once we have our campaigns structured correctly based on those different segments that we just talked about, location, language, budgeting, whatever it may be, at the campaign level decisions are really more of business decisions. Where we get into really important AdWords optimization decisions is really in the ad group structure. This is where we're going to see huge benefits in things like click-through rate, quality score, and conversion rate. What we like to see and what we shoot for is a lot of really tightly focused ad groups. All ad copy should closely reflect all of the keywords within an ad group. And this certainly isn't a rule of thumb, but I would say typically we like to see fewer than 15 keywords per ad group. Now that can certainly vary a lot, but in general, if you're seeing more than that in an ad group, there's probably a way that you could break that ad group down a little bit more granularly and target ad copy a little bit better. Like I said, just to reiterate, ad group structure is all about improving click-through rate and improving conversion rate. Because we set destination URLs in ads at the ad group level, having a more granularly targeted ad group is going to allow you to send specific users to a better landing page. If you don't have a better landing page, that's another discussion, and you probably should. But ultimately, it lets you target ad copy better, and it lets you send your visitors to a better ad groups and not keyword groups for a reason. Ad groups should be built around ad copy and having those keywords closely match the ad copy. We don't want to do it the other way around, where we take a big list of keywords and try and come up with ads. What you'll find when you do it that way is that you can't craft ad copy that matches all of your keywords, which is fine, and that's actually a good way to think about it. And when you find that, it's a good hint that you should be breaking your ad groups out into tighter, more focused divisions. The last piece of this that we haven't talked about or mentioned at all yet is naming conventions. I can't reiterate enough how important naming conventions are, both to improving your analysis of the campaigns and, frankly, in saving your sanity when you're going through your campaigns. Naming conventions should always provide the basic information of what's inside. Here's an example of campaign level. On the bad side, you see we have, and this is for a made-up campaign about socks. Here, on the bad side, we have Socks Original, Socks Test, Socks US, Socks CDay. I can tell you the bottom two seem like they make a little bit of sense, but the top two, I'm not really sure what's in either of those. This is very common, and it makes it really difficult to find what's going well in your campaign and to diagnose what's going poorly. If I was to tell you that on the good side, this is what's actually going on. So here we have search-US-socks, search-Canada-socks, and then we have the same thing for display. If we use naming conventions that help direct our attention to what's important, and what's important should be why you decided to break out that campaign by itself. In this case, there's two variables, search versus display, and US versus Canada. Knowing that information at the top level is going to save you a ton of time trying to fly around your maze that has a bad naming convention. If we take a look at naming conventions at the ad group level, the idea is the same. The results are going to be a little bit different. Good naming conventions at the ad group level make your search and filter functionalities within AdWords much more useful. These are really good tools. If you're not using them, you're probably not identifying themes at a broader level very well. Here's an example here. So take a look. Pretend this is our socks search campaign. We have ad groups: running, walking, hiking, black, white. Okay, that's great. The reason that's okay is it's good that you decided to break out those ad groups in the first place, as they should all be in their own ad groups. What I think is a much better approach is if we can somehow combine those into themes, or maybe we can get a higher view and say, hey, using my filter or search, I'm going to search for sports, and let's see how all of our sports ad groups perform over the last month, or the other way around, or the same thing for colors. So instead of just having black and white, we have colored themes. Now we can search and identify at a top level how all of those ad groups are performing, which is a much better view, especially when you don't necessarily have enough actionable data to make good decisions. So where do we start? So that's all great. I get why we start, why we separate campaigns. I understand that we want granular ad groups, but how do I start? We're going to use vertical measures. A really good place to start organizing your campaigns is your website. If you don't have a page for your website, you can't send traffic there anyway. In this case, if we go to Vertical Measures Services tab, we see at a top level all of the themes that that Vertical Measures offers. If we take a look, it would be a bad assumption to consider each one of these an ad group. What I would tell you then is that you need to dig down further. There must be different ways that people are searching for all of those offerings. Because we're talking about it right now, let's take a look at the paid search. So if we had one paid search campaign, we could fill that with probably hundreds of keywords. What a better decision would be is to group all of that paid search into our theme of paid search so that if we want to see it at a top level and group it and filter it, we can do that. But we're going to break it down a little bit further and say, all right, let's just have PPC keywords, and let's just have pay-per-click keywords, and let's just have paid search keywords in an ad group. This way, we can make ad copy that reflects the keywords that are in it, and we can make better decisions at an ad group level. There's likely a difference in performance between people who search for PPC versus people who search for paid search. The last thing we're going to talk about, now that we've gone through this, is what was originally the 3 fatal mistakes of PPC account organization, but I just couldn't trim down far enough, so I added in a 4th. Number 1, and just to reiterate, these are things we've talked about, but these are the most common issues we see. These are the ones that cause the biggest issues in your campaigns, and these are the ones that are really vital to get right if you want your campaigns running on all cylinders. Number 1, targeting search and display in the same campaign is the ultimate mistake. Like I said, and just to reiterate, those networks are drastically different. Comparing data, if those are in the same campaigns, none of the data is going to be very effective. It's going to be very hard to diagnose issues or what you're doing well, and ultimately it's difficult to optimize if this is what's happening. Number 2, targeting multiple languages in the same campaign. Again, it seems pretty basic. If you're in the United States and you only target English speakers, it probably doesn't make sense to target all languages. This is a quote directly from AdWords. Be sure to target ads in the language that you target, since AdWords doesn't translate ads or keywords. This should go without saying, but again, it's really easy. It's really easy to have one setting slip, and you go in and find out that you're also targeting French and Spanish speakers, even though you didn't want to. The other plus is that it's also really easy to revert that. All you have to do is go into your campaign settings. Number 3, targeting ad groups too broadly. So we broke down on the vertical measures how we might take it from a top-down approach. Let's look at an example of how we can do it, how we could reorganize a current ad group that isn't targeting users very well. So here, again, back to socks. We have an ad group socks. Within it, we have keywords for running socks, walking socks, and hiking socks. What this means is that our ad showing for all of these searches is going to be just like this. So we're going to see bolded words on socks. It's going to be fairly untargeted, and based on how we prefer, our destination URL is going to have to be a generic page so that we can provide value to all of these people. I understand that with dynamic keyword insertion in ads, you could remedy some of the ad copy. It's just good practice to get it right the first time and make sure you separate those out. You want to be able to see the themes, regardless of ad copy, of how hiking socks perform compared to walking socks and running socks. If I could do this over with those 6, here, this might be what it looks like. So now we have 3 ad groups, each containing just 2 keywords, but the ones that are specific to the ad copy and the ad group name. Now what we have is ad copy that is full of bolded words. That's really going to help drive your click-through rate up. We also have improved display URL that we call it a vanity URL, where we've added the /running, /walking, /hiking. There's another opportunity to get bolded words in your ad. And we can send each one of these people to our specific destination URL that they're looking for. Someone looking for running socks isn't looking for hiking socks, and vice versa. We don't want to send them to a page that has all of that, where they can get distracted and not do what we want them to do, which is make a purchase. And finally, poor naming convention. I've mentioned it quite a few times now. If I didn't see it so often, I wouldn't be talking about it. This isn't a real campaign that you're looking at, but we have seen plenty that look like this. Trying to make analysis and dig into your campaign is really like a maze if your campaigns are titled campaign 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. With this campaign structure, and I know this is actually the AdWords default, we don't know which of these campaigns is search, which is display, which is targeting the US, which is whatever else is going on. We don't know. It makes it really difficult to figure out, what's in campaign 4. That will do it for us here. So I'm going to open the floor back up to Quinn here, and we'll answer some of your questions.
Yeah, so if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them on the question applet or tweet me with the hashtag VMWebinar. We do have one, Zach, a couple actually. So one of them's from Caro, and he asks, language settings. If I'm targeting English speakers in Iraq, then is it okay to run the Iraq ads in English, not in Iraqi?
Let me get this straight in my mind. If we're targeting English speakers in Iraq, can you say it just one more time for me, Gwen?
If I'm targeting English speakers in Iraq, then is it okay to run the Iraq ads in English, not in Iraqi?
Yes. The way that those are targeted are based on your Google settings. So if someone in a foreign country is using a google.com or searching using a default setting that says their language is in English, that's how AdWords determines which ads to show. If your ads are written in English and you're targeting a foreign language, that's when things are going to start getting confusing.
Okay. So we also have a question about the new update that just came out. So I know you actually just wrote a blog on this morning, but I thought this would be a good audience to explain about the keyword not provided update and how this will affect both the organization of campaigns and the analysis and the performance.
Sure. So just a quick overview. The Google Analytics keyword not provided update basically is a privacy setting where Google has taken all of their organic search traffic and run it through their secure site, and they're no longer providing search query data for organic traffic coming to your site. Luckily for paid search, at least for the time being, this won't be an issue. We're still able to capture search query data by going and looking at search query reports, which we can do at the keyword level or ad group level or campaign level. So in the short term, it won't have much impact.
Okay. also you mentioned at one point you were talking about, running socks and walking socks and how they would lead to different landing pages. So we have a question about giving us maybe 1 or 2 top tips for how to optimize landing pages to best fit in with your PPC ads.
Sure, good question. A best bet is when you're crafting your ad copy, make sure that your messaging mirrors what's on your site. The biggest offense that we see in ad copy is advertisers who make claims in their ad copy that are not then reiterated on their landing page, whether they're true or not. The reason someone clicked on your ad is because they liked the messaging they saw. What they expect once they land on your website is to see that again so that they can take whatever that action is that you promised. When those messages don't align is when you see high bounce rates and low conversion rates.
So mainly it comes down to consistency and making sure all the messaging across the board matches up, correct?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. And then I think we've run out of time. Unless anyone has any other questions, feel free to shoot them our way. But we do have some free audits that we wanted to tell you guys about, free AdWords campaign audits that we do at Vertical Measures. So if you are interested in taking your PPC campaigns to the next level, we do just a quick review of figuring out, what's wasted, what can be grown upon, and share the changes we think we would make and why. So that's something that we're offering lately, and if you are interested, feel free to pop us a note or give us a call. And then also we have a webinar coming up next month, so please mark your calendar for November 14th. So we're going to have a special guest presenter. Her name's Sarah Skerrick, and she is actually the Vice President of Content Marketing at PR Newswire. So we're pretty excited about this. She has, her topic is Marketing Your Marketing, How to Drive Discovery of Your Content. So this is something that we really believe in, is that, if you create a great piece of content but then don't drive discovery and don't market your marketing, just like her title says, then it can fall flat and it really doesn't work for you. So she's going to go into the different things that are involved with that. So that's November 14th. The date's wrong on there. And that will be open for registration on verticalmeasures.com/webinars. So that's it for today. I want to thank you, Zach, and thank you all for joining us. And we're going to sign off now. Have a great day.